Marcus Hale walked through the long, silver corridors of the star cruiser Aurelia, feeling small inside a ship that belonged to beings far older and more advanced than humans. Every wall glowed with a soft blue light, and the air smelled faintly of something sweet, almost like flowers but not from Earth. The ship was quiet, calm, and full of strange technology. Yet Marcus felt the same twisting nervousness that had been with him since he arrived. He was one of the youngest ambassadors Earth had ever sent to the Galactic Concord. Many people expected older, more experienced diplomats to represent humanity. But Marcus had surprised everyone by passing every test with determination, sharp thinking, and a willingness to face things that scared him. Still, no test had prepared him for meeting actual alien royalty. The Sarathian Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in the Concord, known for their tall, elegant forms, shimmering skin, and eyes that looked like polished gemstones. Their princess, Saralith Voss, was famous across dozens of worlds. Stories described her as disciplined, calm, and regal in every second of her life. Marcus had never even imagined speaking to someone like her directly. But now he had a room assigned only 2 doors down from hers. Marcus tried to convince himself that it was fine. They probably wouldn't even cross paths except at meetings. She was royalty. He was just a human, trying not to trip over alien carpets. Everything would be simple, professional, and orderly. That was what he told himself. But a deep part of him felt like the universe was preparing some special embarrassment just for him. He reached his quarters and stepped inside. The door slid shut with a gentle hum. The room was comfortable, but not familiar. Smooth walls, floating lights, and a soft bed that changed shape when he touched it. He sat down and sighed. He had spent the entire day in diplomatic sessions, listening to discussions about trade routes, shared defense, and scientific cooperation. There had been no mistakes so far, but every moment felt like walking on ice. As he walked across the room, he could hear faint sounds from far-off chambers. The princess's voice had been one of the clearest. It had a calm rhythm to it, steady and warm but with a tone that made people straighten their backs. Even hearing it from a distance made Marcus nervous. He wondered how someone like her carried such confidence, without seeming cold. He tried to relax. He drank water, stretched his shoulders, and practiced breathing slowly, something he learned before his first public speech. But the more he tried to calm himself, the more his thoughts raced. Don't embarrass yourself. Don't stare if you see her. Don't accidentally insult 7 alien cultures with 1 sentence. Eventually, he decided he needed sleep. Tomorrow would be another long day of talks, and he needed a clear mind. He lay down on the soft, shifting bed, which adjusted around him like a cloud. The lights dimmed automatically, and the room became silent. Marcus closed his eyes. For a while, he simply breathed in and out. His mind drifted between memories of Earth and the strange events of the day. The hum of the ship was steady, almost soothing. Then he began to fall asleep. At first it was peaceful. But soon, his thoughts mixed with dreams, and words slipped out of his mouth without him realizing. It started soft, barely more than whispers. She always stands like she has a star stuck in her back. His voice grew clearer as he relaxed deeper. Not in a bad way, just very... He mumbled something else, too quiet to understand. He didn't know that someone was walking in the corridor outside. Princess Saralith often took late walks when her mind was full. Unlike most species, Sarathians needed quiet movement to process heavy decisions. The day's negotiations had been long, and she wished to breathe without advisors or guards asking questions. She walked past Marcus's door, thinking she would simply return to her quarters. But as she passed, a faint sound reached her ears. She paused. Sarathian hearing was more sensitive than human hearing. She turned her head slightly, listening again. Someone was talking. She didn't intend to listen at first, but the voice became clearer. It was Marcus's. She knew his voice from earlier meetings, careful, polite, and always trying not to offend anyone. But this voice was different. This was open, unfiltered, half asleep. Princess Sarilith probably thinks I'm weird. Her eyes blinked in surprise. But she moves like she's floating. And she's so serious all the time. Like she's afraid someone will judge her breathing. Sarilith brought a hand to her lips. The words were not insulting. They were simple, honest, and strangely observant. Most beings treated her with stiff respect, terrified of making even the smallest mistake in her presence. But this human, without meaning to, spoke about her like she was a real person, not an unreachable symbol. Then he mumbled again, voice tired. She's got that look, like she carries stars in her spine. Sarilith did not understand the exact human phrase, but she understood the feeling behind it. A strange warmth touched her expression, and then she laughed. Not a polite royal laugh, not a soft diplomatic chuckle. A real, bright laugh that echoed through the hallway. Marcus did not wake up. He simply shifted and mumbled something about glowing hair and very shiny people, none of which made any sense even to himself. Sarilith's laughter continued for several seconds. She leaned against the wall, covering her mouth, trying to regain control. Her guards, standing at the far corner, looked confused. Once she calmed. She glanced at Marcus's closed door again, her gemstone eyes thoughtful. She had met ambassadors of dozens of species. They all spoke carefully, always calculating, always nervous. But this human had accidentally shown a sincerity she rarely witnessed. It felt refreshing. She walked away with a soft smile, still amused, still thinking about the strange human who talked about her in his sleep. She decided she would speak to him in the morning. Marcus, however, slept peacefully, completely unaware that tomorrow would begin with something he feared more than any alien war. A conversation with a princess who had heard every single word. Morning arrived slowly on the star cruiser Aurelia. The lights in the halls brightened from blue to white, and the ship's engines shifted into their daytime rhythm. Diplomats from many worlds woke to another long schedule of political discussions and carefully measured language. Marcus Hale, however, woke to something else entirely. He opened his eyes, stretched his arms, and sat up only to feel a strange tension in the air, as if the universe had quietly decided to play a joke on him. He couldn't explain it, but something felt slightly off. He rubbed his face, yawned, and tried to remember his dreams. He remembered nothing, not even 1 second. But as he walked to the wash station, a faint memory tugged at him. Something about glowing hair? Or sparkling eyes? He shook his head. He always dreamed nonsense when he was stressed. After he dressed in his standard ambassador uniform and stepped outside, he noticed people well, not people, but aliens acting strangely around him. A few glanced at him, then looked away quickly. 2 small reptilian delegates whispered to each other the moment he passed. A tall, plant-like diplomat tilted its head as if examining him. Marcus felt his heart squeeze. Had he done something wrong? Had he missed a meeting? Had he accidentally insulted an entire species again? He forced himself to walk calmly toward the main conference chamber. He would act normal. Everything would be normal. This was just his imagination. Unfortunately, his imagination ended the moment he turned a corner. Princess Sarilith was standing near the entrance, speaking quietly with her royal guards. Her long, shimmering attire reflected the hallway lights, and her posture was as elegant as always tall. Balanced, almost floating. She turned slightly, and her eyes landed directly on Marcus. For a brief second, Marcus forgot how to breathe. Sarilith dismissed her guards with a small motion of her hand. They stepped back respectfully. She started walking toward him with calm, graceful steps. He immediately tried to look busy, pretending to study a panel on the wall. It didn't work. "Good morning, Ambassador Hale," she said gently, stopping right in front of him. Marcus jumped slightly. Princess Sarilith. Good morning. I was just, checking this panel. Very important panel. Her eyes glowed with amusement. I see. He swallowed hard. Something in her expression made him nervous. She looked like someone who knew a secret and was waiting for him to figure it out. Ambassador, she continued, her voice soft and smooth. Did you sleep well? Marcus's stomach flipped. Why did that sound like a dangerous question? I think so, he said carefully. Yes. I hope so. I didn't disturb anyone. Did I? Her smile widened just a little. Oh no. Not disturb. More like, entertain. Marcus blinked. Entertain? Sarilith nodded with graceful calm. Yes. Your dreams seem very expressive. Marcus felt something cold crawl down his spine. My dreams? Her gemstone-like eyes sparkled. You spoke quite clearly last night. His entire soul left his body. What? I talked in my sleep? He whispered in horror. Her laughter came softly, like the start of a melody. Yes, Ambassador, very much. Oh no, Marcus breathed. No. He could feel every cell in his body shrinking. He wanted the floor to open and swallow him. Sleep-talking was one thing. Sleep-talking when an alien princess might hear was another. Sleep-talking about the alien princess was the worst of all possible disasters. He tried to speak. Princess, whatever I said. You described my posture, she said calmly. Marcus wanted to faint. You said I had a stick of starlight glued to my back. Marcus closed his eyes in shame. I did not. You did, she replied, her tone full of soft humor. It was unexpectedly poetic. He opened his eyes again, surprised. Poetic? Yes. And you also mentioned that I float when I walk. Her lips curved slightly. That is not entirely wrong. I'm so sorry, Marcus blurted. I don't mean to make fun of you. I respect you. A lot. Too much. I mean not too much, just the right amount. I mean, Sarilith raised a hand in a calming gesture. Ambassador, you are not in trouble. Truly. I found it refreshing. Refreshing? Marcus repeated, baffled. Yes. Most beings treat me like a fragile, ancient artifact. They speak stiffly, breathe carefully, and avoid saying anything ordinary in my presence. Her voice softened, becoming almost thoughtful. But you spoke honestly, without fear, without calculation. Marcus looked up slowly. Her expression was warm, almost gentle. You found my seriousness amusing, she continued. You found my posture interesting. You found my movement unusual. You spoke like a being who was not afraid of me. I was asleep, Marcus said weakly. Yes, she said with a small laugh. And yet, it still counts. For the first time since waking, Marcus felt the tension ease. The princess was not angry. She was amused, even pleased. Her open laughter made her seem less like a distant royal figure, and more like someone who simply wanted to be treated normally. I hope I didn't say anything rude, Marcus said quietly. You said nothing insulting. You only spoke observations. She tilted her head slightly. Some were charming. Marcus blushed. Charming? Sarilith looked at him fully now, eyes clear and bright. Yes. You said I have stars in my spine. I do not understand the human imagery, but it sounded beautiful. He stared at her, unsure how to respond. The princess continued walking, and Marcus followed beside her, still feeling awkward but less terrified. As they approached the conference room, other diplomats turned their heads, surprised to see the princess speaking so casually with him. Sarilith leaned in slightly and whispered, Ambassador, you may relax. I am not a threat to you. Last night says otherwise, he muttered. She smiled. Last night was delightful. Before he could respond, the large doors to the conference chamber opened. As she stepped through, she glanced at him once more. Perhaps, she said, after today's negotiations, we may talk again. I am curious what else humans say when they are not awake. Marcus nearly tripped. The princess walked forward, calm and elegant as always, leaving him standing in shock as the rest of the diplomats filed into the room. Word of her laughter had already spread across the ship. But now, with her showing open friendliness toward a human ambassador, whispers grew louder. The Sarathian princess was interested in humanity, and Marcus was the reason. Whatever he said in his sleep, it had changed something far bigger than he understood. The day continued with long discussions inside the conference chamber. Representatives of many species sat in curved rows, their holographic displays floating beside them. Soft lights glowed above the table, changing colors whenever someone requested to speak. The whole room felt calm, but tension quietly hid beneath the surface. Marcus sat among the human delegation, trying to focus on the topics, trade routes, shared scientific projects, frontier patrols, but his mind kept slipping back to that morning. The princess had heard him sleep talk. She wasn't angry. She had laughed. And then she asked to speak with him again. He still didn't know how to feel about it. Embarrassed? Honored? Terrified? Maybe all three. Every now and then, he glanced toward the front of the chamber. Princess Sarilith sat on her elevated seat, hands folded gracefully, her eyes sharp as she listened to every word spoken. Anyone else might have looked cold in such a position, but she didn't. She looked alive, focused, calm. Once, she caught Marcus looking in her direction. Instead of ignoring him, she gave a small, almost secret smile. Marcus immediately looked down at his notes. Several alien delegates noticed. Whispers began spreading through the chamber like quiet gusts of wind. A few diplomats exchanged glances, as if trying to decode whatever strange bond might exist between the human ambassador and the Sarathian princess. By midday, Marcus's nerves felt tight again, maybe tighter than before, and the day was far from over. After the afternoon break, the delegates prepared to discuss security matters, an important and sensitive topic. But before the session could begin, a loud, sharp alarm echoed through the chamber. Everyone froze. The lights turned red. A voice spoke through the ship's system. Security breach detected. Unknown boarding ships approaching. All delegates seek shelter. This is not a drill. The calm, professional atmosphere shattered instantly. Alien diplomats stood from their seats. Guards rushed into the room. Doors sealed with heavy, metallic locks. Marcus felt a jolt of fear shoot through him. He had trained for emergencies, but he had never believed he would face one inside a ship belonging to the Sarathian Empire, one of the most well-protected factions in the Concord. Sarilith stood quickly, her expression serious but steady. She spoke to her guards in her native language, soft tones and quick syllables Marcus couldn't understand. The guards formed a protective circle around her. But something was wrong. The wall display beside the chamber lit up with a map of the ship. Red dots showed boarding points. More red dots appeared, spreading down the halls. Marcus's heart dropped as he realized the pattern. The attackers weren't aiming for random areas. They were moving in one clear direction. Princess, he whispered. The breach routes. They're converging toward your section of the ship. Sarilith looked at the display, her eyes narrowing. So they are. Someone planned this, Marcus said, voice tense. They're here for you. Her guards confirmed it. Their voices stayed calm, but their movements grew sharp, urgent. The chamber was secure for now, but no one knew how long it would stay that way. One of the delegates stepped forward. We must evacuate the princess to the inner safe room. Another shook his head. Those corridors are blocked. The enemy is already too close. The alarm continued ringing, forming a painful echo through the metal walls. Sarilith stood still, thinking fast. Her face, normally calm and composed, was now focused with a different kind of intensity. Marcus scanned the room, trying to think. There had to be another path, something the attackers didn't expect, something only someone who studied the ship's emergency maps would know. Then a memory clicked. The maps he studied last night. The hidden maintenance corridors. The ones most diplomats didn't know about. He jumped to his feet. I know another way. Several heads snapped toward him. Even the guards stared. What? Sarilith asked. Marcus moved closer to the large holographic map. There's a maintenance shaft behind this chamber. It connects to a narrow passage that leads down to the engineering levels. No one uses it except repair crews. The pirates probably don't know it exists. The princess stepped forward. Will it lead us to safety? It should, Marcus said. The engineering section has manual locks and emergency separators. Even if the attackers take control of the ship's systems, they won't be able to override those doors. Sarilith looked at her guards. They exchanged quick glances. One nodded. Another scanned the chamber wall with a small device, and confirmed Marcus was right there, was a hidden passage behind a large panel. Without wasting a second, Sarilith gave the order. Open it. The guard pressed a sequence on his wrist unit, and the wall panel slid aside, revealing a dark corridor only wide enough for one person at a time. It smelled like old metal and warm circuitry. Sarilith turned to Marcus. Ambassador, you will lead. Me? Marcus asked, startled. Shouldn't one of your guards? You know the route, she said simply. We follow you. Marcus swallowed hard. This was not what he had expected from his day. Not even close. But he nodded, forcing himself to stay steady. All right, he said. Stay close. Don't step on any loose panels. They hum when you step on them. Sarilith raised an eyebrow. You have explored these corridors before? Marcus shook his head. I just memorize things. It wasn't the time to explain his habit of studying maps whenever he was anxious. They would laugh later if they survived. He stepped into the narrow corridor. The walls hummed softly with energy. The lights flickered with each step, responding to motion. Behind him, the princess entered, followed by her guards. Outside, the alarm continued echoing. Distant blasts sounded through the ship sharp, heavy impacts that made the metal floors tremble. Marcus moved quickly, turning left, then right, guiding the group through twists and turns. Sarilith stayed close behind him. Even in a dark maintenance tunnel, she carried herself with calm control. After several minutes, they reached a ladder leading down. Marcus gestured. Sarilith motioned to her guards, then started climbing down herself. Halfway down, the ship shook violently. A loud explosion thundered somewhere above them, and the ladder swayed. Marcus gripped the metal tightly. Sarilith continued downward with steady movements, her composure unbroken. When they reached the bottom, Marcus guided them toward the emergency separator doors. These ones were thick, reinforced with heavy alloy. Marcus pressed the manual control panel. Come on. Come on. The door slid open with a deep, metallic groan. Inside, Marcus said. The princess entered first. Her guards followed. Marcus stepped in last. The door sealed behind them with a heavy clunk, the safest sound he had ever heard. The hallway beyond was quiet. No alarms. No attackers. Just the soft hum of the ship's heart. Sarilith turned to Marcus, her expression thoughtful, almost proud. Ambassador Hale, she said quietly, you may have just saved all of us. He exhaled slowly, his legs shaking with delayed fear. I just used a map, he said. Sarilith shook her head gently. No. You used courage when others froze. For the first time that day, Marcus allowed himself a breath of relief. And the princess looked at him, not like a sleep-talking embarrassment, not like a random diplomat, but like someone who had proven something important. something human. The emergency hallway was dim, lit only by soft yellow strips along the floor. Everything felt still and quiet after the chaos they had escaped. The thick door behind them sealed the danger away, but the memory of explosions and alarms still echoed in Marcus's mind. Princess Seralith stood silently for a moment, listening to the distant vibrations of the ship. Her guards scanned the area with sharp attention. Marcus leaned lightly against the wall, letting his breath settle. He hadn't realized how tired his body was until the adrenaline faded. Finally, Seralith turned toward him. Her face held calm control, but her eyes showed something softer, something he hadn't seen before. "Ambassador Hale," she said, "you acted bravely." Marcus shook his head quickly. "I only remembered some maps." "No," she said. "You guided us while under threat. You moved with clarity. You did not freeze." Her words felt strange to him. Humans didn't often get that kind of praise from powerful alien royals. His cheeks warmed, and he looked down slightly. "I just didn't want anyone hurt," he said. "That," Seralith replied, "is exactly why your action matters." As they began walking deeper into the safe corridor, the humming of machinery grew louder. Pipes glowed faintly along the walls, carrying power toward the ship's engines. It felt like traveling through the heart of a giant, living creature. Marcus walked at a steady pace, and Seralith stayed close beside him. Her guards followed in protective formation, but they seemed less tense now. Even they appeared surprised by the human ambassador's unexpected bravery. The group reached a wide junction where several small paths split in different directions. Seralith gestured for them to pause. "We are safe for now," she said softly. "Let us wait. The engineers will arrive to escort us to the central bunker." Marcus nodded and sat on a small metal crate near the wall. The tension in his body slowly faded, replaced by an exhausted calm. Seralith remained standing at first, observing their surroundings, her posture still perfect even in a dusty, narrow maintenance area. But then she surprised him. She sat down on a crate across from him, graceful, but noticeably more relaxed than usual. Her guards exchanged a glance. The princess rarely sat in such informal ways around others, but she didn't seem to care now. Marcus stayed quiet for a moment, still unsure how she viewed him after everything that happened. Seralith studied him with curiosity. "You seem troubled." "I'm just thinking," Marcus said. "About what?" He hesitated. "About today. I didn't expect any of this. Pirates, rescue routes, me of all people guiding royalty through a maintenance shaft." A soft smile touched her lips. "Life does not always follow protocol. I work. That's one way to say it," he murmured. She tilted her head. "Are you frightened?" He thought about it honestly. "I was. A lot. But when I saw those red dots moving toward your section, something in me just reacted. I didn't think." "That is human instinct," she said. "You are a young species, still growing. You have not yet learned to hide your emotions behind armor." Marcus blinked. "Is that a good thing or a bad thing?" Seralith considered this carefully. "Most assume it is a weakness, but I do not." "After." Marcus looked up, confused. "You don't?" She shook her head gently. "No. Your actions came from emotion, from care, from an honest desire to protect. Many species lose such sincerity over centuries. But you, humans, have kept it." He felt a strange warmth inside his chest. No alien had ever spoken about humanity like that before. Usually, they praised humans for ambition, adaptability, or creativity. But sincerity? That was new. Seralith continued with a softer voice. "Ambassador, when I said your sleep talk entertained me, I did not expect that same human honesty to reveal something far more valuable." Marcus's eyes widened. "Valuable?" "Yes. You showed me something I rarely see." Her expression softened further. "Authenticity." The word felt heavy, meaningful. Marcus shifted slightly. Most people are afraid of you, aren't they? They are, Sarilith admitted quietly. They see the crown. Before they see the person wearing it. They speak to my title. Not to me. Marcus understood suddenly why his sleep-talking amused her so much. He hadn't spoken to her like a princess. In his half-conscious dreaming mind, he spoke as if she were any other person, maybe a little strange, maybe a little overly elegant, but still a person. You must get tired of it, he said. A long pause followed. I do, she answered. The simplicity of her reply surprised him. No hesitation. No diplomatic filter. Her guards looked away respectfully, pretending not to hear. Marcus realized moments like this were rare for her. Sarilith leaned back slightly, her posture softening. When I heard you describe my posture as floating, I laughed because no one has ever dared say anything so ordinary about me. Even if it was strange. Marcus covered his face with one hand. I still can't believe you heard all that. I am pleased that I did, she said, amused. He peeked between his fingers. I still wish I had been asleep somewhere on Earth instead. You would have missed the adventure, she replied calmly. He gave a tired laugh. You call this an adventure? Yes, she said. A frightening one, but still an adventure. They sat in silence for a moment. The distant thrum of the engines filled the quiet space. After a while, one of the guards approached. Princess, we have detected movement. The attackers are being pushed back toward the docking bay. Our forces are regaining control. Sarilith nodded gratefully. How long until engineers arrive? About 20 minutes. Good. We will wait here. As the guard stepped back, Sarilith turned to Marcus again. When this crisis ends, the Concord will wish to know how we survived. Marcus winced. Please don't tell anyone about the sleep-talking part. Her smile grew wider. Do not worry. I will keep your secret. Thank you, he breathed. But, she added lightly, I may remind you of it, from time to time, for my own amusement. Systemintino mated, Fogin, 2S. Marcus stared at her. That seems unfair. Perhaps. She looked away with playful calm. But I enjoyed your honesty, and I wish to hear it again. Farmer, Nundi. His heartbeat skipped. Hear it again? She lifted her eyes, meeting his. Not your sleep talk. Your truth. He felt warm all over. Before he could respond, another distant explosion echoed, followed by the sound of heavy machinery shifting above them. The danger wasn't completely gone yet. Sarilith stood again, more regal now, but with a new softness around her expression. We stay together, she said. Marcus rose to his feet. Yeah, together. In that moment, surrounded by humming metal and dim lights, the bond between a human ambassador and an alien princess deepened, not through political speeches or formal agreements, but through sincerity, bravery, and shared danger. For the first time, Sarilith no longer saw him as a nervous human diplomat. She saw him as someone she trusted. Time passed slowly inside the emergency hallway. The hum of the engineering systems filled the silence like a steady heartbeat. Marcus stayed close to Princess Sarilith and her guards, listening to every sound beyond the metal walls. Sometimes, the deck shook lightly from distant impacts. Other times, there was complete stillness. Finally, the faint sound of approaching footsteps echoed from the far end of the corridor. The guards reacted instantly. Identify yourselves. One called out, hand on his weapon. A calm voice answered, Engineering crew. We are here to escort the princess to the central bunker. Moments later, 3 Sarathian engineers appeared, their uniforms glowing with the ship's blue insignia. One of them stepped forward and bowed deeply. Your Highness, the attackers are being defeated. We have locked down their boarding craft, and security is sweeping the remaining sections of the ship. Sarilith nodded with relief. Good. We will head to the bunker for safety until the last threat is contained. The chief engineer then turned toward Marcus. Ambassador Hale, your quick actions in guiding the princess saved the Concord's leadership. Why? Marcus blinked, feeling overwhelmed. I just did what I could. Anyone would have. Not anyone, the engineer replied. Sarilith glanced at Marcus with quiet pride. With the engineers leading, the group moved through a long passageway. This one was brighter, cleaner, and much wider than the maintenance tunnels. It felt safer, more official. But even then, the air held a faint tension. Everyone knew the danger had not fully passed. As they walked, Marcus noticed something strange. Some crew members stared at them in surprise, then whispered to each other. He wondered what rumor they were spreading now. Probably something embarrassing about him again. When they reached the central bunker, a tall alloy door slid open with a deep rumble. Inside was a large, circular room filled with glowing consoles, communication panels, and thick, reinforced walls. A group of high-ranking Sarathian officers stood waiting. The moment the princess stepped inside, they knelt briefly in respect. One officer immediately approached. Your Highness, we feared the worst when the attackers reached your wing. We survived, Sarilith said, thanks to Ambassador Hale. Marcus felt his face heat. Every officer turned to look at him. He wished the floor would turn into quicksand and swallow him. One officer said, A human ambassador protected you? He guided us through hidden maintenance passages, Sarilith replied. Without hesitation. The room went silent. Then an officer bowed slightly toward Marcus. You have our gratitude, Ambassador. Humanity has earned great respect today. Marcus shifted awkwardly. Really, it was nothing. It was everything, Sarilith said gently. He fell quiet. The bunker lights dimmed as communication results appeared on the wall. A hologram showed the pirate ships being pulled in by security drones. Another display revealed the Concord fleet arriving outside the Aurelia, ready to secure the area. The threat will be neutralized shortly, an officer confirmed. Good, Sarilith said. Then prepare a report for the Concord Council. I will speak to them personally. Quote, Marcus watched her how she stood tall, calm, quiet, but powerful. Even after running through dark tunnels and escaping danger, she still carried the strength of royalty. Yet now, there was something different about her. Something human. When the officers left to prepare, Sarilith approached Marcus. You have had quite a day, Ambassador. I still can't believe any of this is real, he admitted. I was supposed to sit at a table and talk about science, not run through a ship with an alien princess. You handled both tasks with remarkable skill. He laughed lightly. The sleep-talking part wasn't skill. Her expression brightened with amusement. No, but it was honest. He covered his face with one hand. I will never live that down, will I? Sarilith stepped a little closer. Do not worry. I gave you my word. I will not reveal your dream words to anyone. Marcus peeked between his fingers. But you'll tease me about it. Only sometimes, she admitted, hiding a smile. He lowered his hand slowly. Princess, why didn't you get angry? I mean, I said strange things about you. About how you walk. How you stand. Sarilith exhaled softly. Because no one else has ever spoken of me in such a way. Others bow. Others fear me. But you saw me as a person, even without knowing. I wasn't even awake, he said weakly. And yet your words were still true, she replied. You were honest in a way no diplomat has been with me in years. He didn't know what to say. Her tone held a gentle warmth that made his chest tighten slightly. After a moment, Sarilith looked at him carefully. Marcus Hale, today, you showed bravery that goes beyond any title. You protected me not because of politics, but because it was right. He swallowed. Of course. And that, she said softly, is why I admire humankind. Marcus froze. Admire? Yes, she said simply. Your species is unpredictable. Young. Imperfect. Yet filled with a spirit that many older civilizations have forgotten. Her words felt heavy, meaningful, almost emotional. I wish others could see what I saw today, she continued. A human facing danger, not with strategy, but with heart. Marcus rubbed the back of his neck. I'm not sure I'm the best example of humanity. Sarilith shook her head gently. You are. Precisely because you believe you are not. He looked at her, unsure how to respond. Before he could speak, the bunker door opened again. A communication officer entered. Your Highness, the Concord Council requests a live update. Sarilith nodded. Prepare the transmission. As the officer hurried to the console, Sarilith looked back at Marcus. Will you stand with me for this? Humanity deserves representation. Marcus hesitated. Me? Next to you? Yes, she said softly. He straightened his shoulders. Then, I will. A moment later, the holographic display lit up. Dozens of leaders from across the galaxy appeared. The cameras focused on Princess Sarilith and on Marcus Hale standing beside her. Sarilith's voice filled the room, calm, steady, confident. She spoke of the pirate attack, of the danger, and of the unexpected courage that helped them escape. She did not mention her guards. She did not mention her status. She mentioned Marcus. He acted when many others froze, she told the council. He guided us to safety through sheer determination. Humanity has shown courage today, and I will not forget it. Marcus tried not to panic as every alien leader looked directly at him through the hologram. He felt like a child pretending to be an adult. But when he glanced at Sarilith, she gave him a calm nod. He stood taller. By the time the transmission ended, the room was silent and still. Today, she said gently, you changed how the galaxy sees humanity. Marcus exhaled, overwhelmed. I didn't mean to do that. Crease. Great things rarely happen on purpose, she replied. He gave a small, tired smile. I guess this is one adventure I'll never forget. She smiled back. And neither will I. For a long moment, they simply looked at each other. No alarms, no fear, no titles. Just two people who survived something together. In that quiet, Marcus realized something important. He had come to the Galactic Concord to represent humanity. But instead, he had shown what it meant to be human. And a princess of a powerful empire had seen it clearly, deeply, and with unexpected fondness. Their story was now part of Concord history. A human who talked in his sleep. A princess who laughed. And a moment that changed everything. Humanity. Surprising the galaxy once again. HFY.